We're finally getting to start on our garden fence. I think I mentioned it in our last video that we were going to be building a picket fence to go all the way around our garden. And we're actually building it all ourselves from scratch. I know that you can get the pre-made like sheeting of the picket fence, but it wouldn't be practical because usually the spacing on those is a minimum of 5 inches to 4 inches. And anything can walk through that. It doesn't prevent chickens or rabbits or anything like that from getting into the fence. And we have to keep out the critters and our chickens, especially because they destroy a garden. So we built on the fence for 8 hours the first day and got 3 sections up just because it takes so long to cut each of the 1x4s. Cold crops needed to get put in the ground, so we had to stop working on the fence and till up some ground. So what we're doing is sort of a market style garden, I think is what you call it, but we've never done this style before. But essentially you're doing raised beds in the ground. So we thought about building some raised beds, but it was just too much money and we much rather needed a fence. So we opted for the fence option, and we're just doing 4x16 beds in the ground, and it's going to have walkways and paths of like living. So they're living pathways, and we're just going to mow, weed eat, whatever we need to do. This was very early on Saturday morning, but I wanted to show this area because this is exactly what we're going to be working on today. We're going to be moving the chicken coop because it's actually in where we're going to be putting the garden fence, because we decided to extend it out a little bit past that tree. So the chicken coop needs to be moved. And this was old fence. We were planning on taking it out anyways because we're going to stop the new fence with the edge of the barn and put up some gates. But this fence was just super old and needed to go. So right where that stack of lumber is, those are actually our boards for the garden fence. That is where our chicken coop is now sitting. And we planted 2 magnolia trees, one directly in front of the chicken coop, a little offset of it, and then one on the other side. That way it will essentially create like a walkway, if that makes sense, back towards the barn and to the garden fence. And we're just trying to plant some more trees and liven up our farm just because we do not have very many trees on our property at all. And we have mostly bad trees. So they are locust thorn trees and they always pop our tires. So we have to get rid of those and plant new ones. I know in my last video that I updated on our just the garden and the farm update, I told you guys that we were not going to be building the greenhouse on the block foundation anymore. But after I thought about it, I wanted my greenhouse to be where I originally wanted. I wanted it to be like up on the flatter part and not on the slope. So we had thought about putting the greenhouse back on this foundation here, but as you can see, it is not in good shape. And we actually had somebody come out and they quoted us, and they said that it would cost way more to fix this old barn foundation and to build a greenhouse on it than it would to just create a whole new foundation for the greenhouse. So we ended up tearing out this rock wall. I know some of you guys are probably going to be upset about it, but we can't keep something if it's going to end up costing us more money. So we did end up tearing this out this past weekend. There were several spots that ended up just really falling over, and we're not sure how long it would have stood anyways. It would have had to have been re-braced and fixed and leveled if we ever were going to build on it, and it just was not practical money-wise. So we did end up tearing it out, and we are going to be putting back a brick foundation to put the greenhouse on. But we ended up hauling all of this old concrete foundation down to the pond that I told you about on the front of our property in our last video, and it is just getting so full of rocks now, but it doesn't hold water, so it's just a perfect place to put all this rock and fill for now. While Ben's dad was working on hauling all the block down to the pond, we worked on setting more posts for the garden fence, and we ended up tilling up 2 more beds for potatoes so that we could get those in the ground, because we had enough chicken wire to do some of the stuff but not all of it. So we are trying to hurry and get this garden fence done as fast as possible, but we're at least another week, if not longer, out from finishing the garden fence. But we are hoping we can get it done. It is not hard to build at all, so I don't want to discourage you from building your own fence there. it is just very, very time consuming to cut all the boards and to dig and set all the posts, but we are slowly getting there and it is going to look so good, and I know all the work is going to pay off in the end. I just finished mowing and weed eating, and Ben has been cutting boards the whole time I've been mowing and weed eating, and I'm about to start putting up more fence. It's just taking us a while, but we are slowly getting there. As you can see, we've got quite a bit done all the way up, but we still have a long ways to go. We still have to put posts all the way around this and board fence also. We're using rough cut 4x4s, 1x4s to build the fence, and we're building it way closer together than the normal picket fences. I think our boards are 1.5 inches apart, and we did that just so that the chickens could not get through it, the dogs couldn't get through it, rabbits couldn't get through it, and they couldn't get under it. So we made the fence 4 foot tall, and then like I said, it's 1x4s. So we are slowly getting there. It is just taking us forever to cut these boards, just because they come in 12-foot boards, and each of these have to be cut 3 times. So we have to do it 45, 45, and then once at the bottom at 0. It is taking us quite a while to cut the boards, but we are slowly getting there, and I cannot wait to get this done, because for now our garden is that little patch right there. I don't know if you can tell, but we ran out of chicken wire, so we cannot plant the rest of our stuff yet. So right now we have potatoes, Yukon Golds, Kennebecks, and then we have cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower planted. But I have strawberry plants up there just sitting in pots, and I need to get those planted and then the ground. So I need to get that done, but we can't plant anymore because we do not have any more chicken wire to run. So we're hoping that once we get this fence built over straight in front of this, we can start planting all over in this section, and then we'll run a piece of chicken wire all the way down through here just to keep the chickens out until we finish all the way around here, because we still have to build our gates and everything like that. So each side is going to have an 8-foot gate just so that we can fit a truck through, a four-wheeler tractor, whatever we need to get in here at any given point in time. And as you may notice, we moved the chicken coop over there. So the tree is going to be part of my garden, so it's going to be fenced in. The post driver is going to move, and then we ended up taking down the brick wall that was here, the old barn foundation, just because we got a quote and it was going to be more expensive to try and fix those walls and make them stable enough to put a greenhouse on than it would be to just build all new. So it did not make sense to keep. We tore those out with the skid steer, and then we packed a bunch of dirt in here and sloped it, and we drug all this with a drag just to try and level it out some. And we actually sowed it in wheat and grass seed just as a cover crop so it doesn't wash away, because erosion is going to be terrible on this for a little while, just because we had to grade it and it's a little bit steep. Like, we had to build this up a lot. So it was probably like 2-foot drop off from where the wall was in the dirt that it was under. I hope that makes sense. So we had to build it up to about 2 foot right here just to like have a little slope. So we're not sure if we'll sow anything in here plant wise for the garden this year, but I still have a huge space to plant in, and honestly way more space than we need. And then when we get the money, maybe next year, I don't know, probably not, maybe a little longer, we'll build a greenhouse and it'll sit right here facing the house that way. So the main doors will look this way. But it is coming along, and this year we're doing kind of a market style garden. So we lay out these fencing boards right here long ways, and they're 16 foot. So we make a 4x16 bed, and that's our style of planting this year, just because we wanted to try something new. So we'll see how it goes. It's kind of hard to tell just because it's getting dark out here, but this is a 4x16 bed, grass that we'll mow, and then 4x16 bed. And then up here, the same thing. It is, I have some bok choy, leeks, broccoli and cauliflower. Ben's up there cutting boards. Hopefully you can hear me over that. And then different varieties of cabbage. There's some purple cabbage, all different kinds of cabbage. But our chickens just now went to bed, so I need to get in here and weed eat all of this out. The rows, that's what we're going to try and go for. So far, I'm really liking this method if we didn't have this fence up. So right now we have to keep this up for our chickens to stay out, and they do really good. Like, as long as we have something up, they respect it and they do not cross over. So that's what we had to do last year also, and they did really good. They never got in our garden. But we're making the beds 4 foot apart so that we can fit our lawnmower in here, or I can push mow, weed eat, whatever I want to do. And then I need to weed eat that really bad, so I need to get in there and do that. But these are rocks that we're finding. This is really rocky ground. We actually found that there used to be a driveway right here. So there is a lot of gravel right here, but it's doing good and it's growing really well. We just need to build up the dirt a little bit. And then this is the hoe that we have been using for in our beds, and I love this. This is my first year having it. I just got it like 2 days ago, and I cleaned out the beds with it, and I love it. You don't have to chop or anything. You just drag it back and forth, and it cuts the weeds, and it saves your arms from having to like beat the ground like chopping the weeds. So I do love that because it just chops them right at the root. So I'm hoping to do that with all of our beds this year, and just hopefully if I don't get behind, then it shouldn't be too bad. But then, like I said, we will mow all of the existing beds. So I'll see if I can zoom out. So that made it really blurry, but maybe you can see there's a strip here and then 2 beds, 4x16, and there's gonna be like alleyways. This is gonna be the main entrance into the gate. And then right here in this little area, this is where I plan on having my herbs and then permanent strawberry patches. So that is the goal for now. But the garden is slowly coming along. We just need to finish this fence so that we can actually get our garden planted. But here's a better view of the walls gone. So this tree will be in the garden fence, so it'll go on the other side of that. And that post right there is where the edge of the post will be. That is a compost pile that we put in here. And then the post driver will be leaving. We have to put that somewhere else. And then the fence will run all the way down through there. So it is gonna be a really large area, and I'm really looking forward to it. But this is how it looks without the rock walls, and we just kind of graded it down. I wanted this tree to be in my garden and maybe put some chairs right there, because I have a cast iron like garden sitting set. Like, it's just a table with 2 chairs. So I think I want to put it under there once we get the fence built with paint. And we really wanted to spray the fence with my paint sprayer, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we're either going to have to wait and paint it this fall, or I'm going to have to hand paint it all, which is a lot. But we just won't be able to paint it, just spray it, because it's going to get all over the food. So there's no way that we can do that. So we may have to wait until this fall to paint it. That is our update for now on the garden, but that is going to be it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys will like and subscribe.